For the Organically Blunt Show, the podcast that dives deep into the world of cannabis with real, informative conversations. Whether you're a seasoned smoker or just curious, light up and join the conversation. Let's get organically blunt. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Organically Blunt. I am Jay Blaze, your host, and this evening I have the opportunity and the pleasure to talk to Taylor from Emerald Cup. Welcome to the show, Taylor.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Definitely. So I heard about you through Cannabis Talk 101, I'll be honest. And I heard you
Okay.
guys' recent episode, and I was like, well, I'm looking for more women in the industry.
Mhm.
I wanna empower women. I wanna see different women in the industry succeed, and I want to hear their stories. And I just want to hear, basically what it was like to come up, around the plant, and somebody that was surrounded by it. How was it like growing up with other kids, and how did the parents react to it? We want to hear the nitty gritty. But before we get into that, I kind of want to take it back as far as we want to hear about the first experience you had with cannabis, like smoking it, and where'd you get it from? That's typically where we start the conversation. So, with that being said, I asked you that
Mhm.
question, and we'd love to hear what you got to say.
Okay, well, thank you. And I'm really excited to be here. I love that, like, sometimes when you say yes to an opportunity, it opens up other ones. And so it's just so great about, meeting new people through cannabis. It's truly the plant that unifies so many. And I feel like my first time smoking cannabis. Okay, so what's really funny is that because I come from a family that, I've been around cannabis my whole life. Um, I you would think that my first cannabis experience would be smoking weed with my dad, but it actually was not. It was I had my mom had gotten remarried. And so after my parents divorced, and so my sophomore and junior year of high school, we moved to South Carolina. And her husband at the time worked in like motion pictures, like movies. And so we moved there because he got this job on the movie The Patriot. And
Oh,
so,
wow.
like, yeah, which was really great. It was that part was really fun. But moving from the West Coast to South Carolina, I was like just kind of like a little bit fish out of water. And it was a really cool experience. I like love that time of my life so much. But when it came to smoking weed for the first time, I remember having this like interesting internal conflict, right? Because like part of me wanted to be like, oh, I should get this from my dad, But then it was like he was in California, I was in South Carolina, and then I wasn't like brave enough to ask him at that time. I was a little kid, so it was kind of like one of those things that I just ended up buying weed from my neighbor who was also a kid in high school. And that was like my first experience with like a girlfriend of mine. Like we bought weed and we smoked weed at the back of her front out of her house. Like it was very like traditional, like not like I didn't smoke like this heady first amazing like flower that was like sun grown. It was like not that great.
Right.
But it's given me the context of seeing it all from all sides.
Definitely. I grew up kind of similar, but I'm in the Midwest. I'm in Michigan, and I grew up with my grandfather. He was an organic farmer, and he did everything simple. Like, we didn't do everything complicated, and we grew the plant, and we were outdoor growers, and it was just something that was in the garden. Like, it wasn't. It was like another tomato plant. It wasn't like we weren't even educated on it until we found out about it in high school. Like, we didn't even know our parents were into it, and we just knew we had plants that we weren't allowed to touch, and we had some that were in the living room under shop lights that we weren't
Yeah.
supposed to touch. And it was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, well, that's what it is. So definitely,
And it's crazy too how like I don't know, I guess if because like this is sort of what happened for me is like I knew the sensory experience of cannabis before I knew what it was. Like growing up around it, you smell it, and it's just like a part of like so many
Yep.
of your childhood memories. Cause it's like so many things, and being around it, it's just like that part of it was like really cool to smoke weed for the first time, because I just felt like
Mhm.
it definitely was a familiar experience even before smoking it.
Cheers, Red Eye. Thanks for visiting with us. We enjoy your company over here. Definitely. You know, so what year did the cup actually start? For people out there that ain't familiar with it, like, can you give us like a little bit of history on it and what it's
Yeah.
about and what we can look forward to this year? Because I know just in a couple weeks your event's coming up, isn't it?
Yes, it is coming up. It's May 13th. So we're in like 23 days countdown. It's so crazy. It'll be here before you know it. But the Emerald Cup started in 2004. So we are currently in our 19th year, 19th annual Emerald Cup Awards. And it's so crazy because it makes me feel ancient almost in just the fact that I'm like, it's been 19 years. It's so
Wow.
crazy. It does blip by. But it actually started in 2004 by my dad, Tim Blake, at his property in Laytonville, California. And I don't know if you spent much time in the Emerald Triangle, but Laytonville is a tiny little town. That's just north of Willits, and he has a property that's right on the highway. And there's this building there that's beautifully like painted. It's like wild colors. When you're driving down Highway 101, you can't miss it. It's his property that he's had that's like a spiritual sanctuary and event center. And he threw a birthday party / underground cannabis competition amongst growers in Northern California, just as like a nice way to get everybody together and celebrate. And so I was not there for the first one. I have heard the amazing stories of it though. And it just seemed as though from everyone that was there and told a part of being what it was like, it seemed like it was just something that was so special that they knew they had to do a second one. It was kind of one of those things where it was like so great that they're like, we're doing this next year. And then every year since then, it's just really grown in momentum and excitement. And I will say the first year that I went was in 2007. And that was also my first year growing a full sun outdoor season. So I just dove right in and grew sun-grown cannabis plants, which is a humongous undertaking. It's definitely such a rewarding thing to do, especially during that time. It was really awesome to learn how to grow cannabis with my dad, and it was like a full experience because it was my first year growing sun-grown cannabis. And for many, many years, up until actually just 2 years ago, it was only a sun-grown cannabis competition. We didn't allow indoor, and so it was really to highlight sun-grown cannabis and the work of the farmers. And so in 2007, being able to complete a full season and then end it with my first Emerald Cup, it set me off onto this journey that I'm still on now. And it's been an amazing wild ride. And an fun fact of that first year too is that I actually entered into the cup at that year and I took home 7th place with some
Wow.
strawberry cough. So I actually even won an Emerald Cup back in the day. But that year that happened, we realized, because the Emerald Cup was so small at that time, it was still so tiny. But we realized once my name was called that we were like, oh, we can't enter this. This is
Right.
off limits because you can't run it and then enter it. So it was still good to
Yep.
learn that lesson in the very beginning.
Definitely, strawberry cough. God, I would love to find some phenols of that lately. When I first became a medical patient here in Michigan, I've been a medical patient since 2009 myself. My first strain, we had 3 flavors. I call it flavors, but strains back then that
Okay.
my
Yeah.
caregiver had, and it was blueberry headband, which I love,
Mhm.
strawberry cough, and then he had
Okay.
which is just a Michigan staple here. It's Gorilla Glue #4. And I'm not a fan of the Gorilla Glue because I've smoked so much of it that I've got burnt out on it. The Gorilla Glue and the Girl Scout cookies are just 2 big strains that do excellent outdoor here in our climate. And it becomes flooded with them too. And it's like, okay, we need something different. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, That's awesome. I've never been to the Emerald. I got a lot of friends, and I keep making more friends in the area. And it's like everybody's like, "Oh, you need to come out and
Yes.
Huckle, Humboldt, Humboldt, Seed." I'm trying to think of
Great
everybody that
understanding
invited me.
that. Uh-huh.
Mendo,
Very
Dope
cool.
Boys, Huckleberry. I think it's Huckleberry Hill. He invited me
Yes.
to come stay in his guest house, and I'm just like, oh, this is
Oh my
cool.
god.
I would love to come out there for a week, and see things. My best friend lives in LA. I haven't seen him in about 8 years, and he's been trying to get me to come out. I don't fly, so I will drive, and I want to come to MJ Biz. So what I would like to do is right around that time. I know it's cooler in the season and stuff, and typically it's winter, but is to come out there and at the same time during MJ Biz, go visit a couple people afterwards and just see what's it's like out there. I have never been out that way. The farthest I've gotten, even close to your direction, is probably Oklahoma. That's the closest I've gotten.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay, well, you have to do that for sure, 100%. You have to book the ticket, take the ride, go drive whenever
yep,
that works out for your schedule to go to MJ
definitely.
BizCon, and then afterwards come to an Emerald Cup event, because those are really good events to kind of sandwich side by side, because MJ BizCon is so huge. It is like so impressive. And when you walk the floor or you're at MJ BizCon, you see so many people from around the country and around the world that maybe you wouldn't see otherwise. And it's a really cool opportunity to network and meet people from
Definitely.
the industry. And then you have the other side of that, which is like an Emerald Cup, which is a consumption style event. So it's like, whereas MJ BizCon, there's like no weed smoking on the floor, because that's not what that's about, which is
Right,
fine. They
right.
have
Yep, yep.
weed smoking elsewhere. But at like an Emerald Cup event, it's all about cannabis and consuming it. And that's the real star of the show. And
Man,
so
that's
that
awesome.
would be a really fun experience to go to both.
Definitely, definitely, because you get to see both sides of the coin. You get to see the
Yes,
professional side, then you get that lax, laid
yes,
back, let's spark one
yes.
up, have fun. Yeah, definitely. I love that kind of stuff. We have cups here in Michigan. Nothing like that, but they're close. I mean, when I say
Yeah.
close, I mean the atmosphere. A friend of mine runs a organization here called Big Cloud Farms, and we put on big things like that. That's how I met the Mendo Dope Boys last year,
Oh,
and
cool.
I met the
They're
Cottonmouth.
awesome.
Yeah, and I met the Cottonmouth Kings, and I met a bunch of other people, and now they're doing it this year, and we're just gonna have a lot of fun with it, and it's a great atmosphere. The ones they do here are camping events, some of them, and so it's a weekend event, which makes it really cool because we get to go out there and enjoy the music all weekend, and it's just so much. But I would definitely want to come out there and see what it's about. I just heard about you guys about 2 years ago, so I'll be frankly honest. But I
Yeah.
haven't gotten into the mainstream of the industry until about 2 years ago, and I started learning things. I come from a small agricultural town that only has one blinking stoplight, and it's like, you know, yeah, yeah, like Amish buggies and running down the road. And yeah, my parents literally behind their house is a schoolhouse. That's an Amish schoolhouse, and it's uh it's like a one-room schoolhouse like you would imagine. And they all go like from like kindergarten on up, and they get dropped off horse and buggy. And I remember one year they actually had to move the schoolhouse. Like, if you ever seen an Amish uplifting, they get the whole town and they actually move the building. The people
Oh.
move it and they lift it, and they had to because it started to fall into like this mud pit, and the building was starting to like sink into it. And they're like, "Oh no, we got to move it." And they ended up getting their tractor stuck in it, and they were pulling it out with a buggy and all that. Yeah, it's a good old country, Red Eye. It's one of those countries that everybody knows everybody, and sometimes it can be a good thing and sometimes it can be a bad thing. But that's just kind of a little taste of where I come from. And you know but definitely off the highway, so your dad can't be missed. And I would love to see pictures of
So
the building sometime. I might have to Google it and see if I
yes,
can't
oh my gosh,
find it.
I will email them to you. Yes, I
Yeah,
will email them
because
to you right after this, so you can see it.
yeah, because we got one here. It's actually a dispensary, but they had painted it canary yellow, and they just did
Okay.
like a jungle theme on the side of it, and it has tigers and lions, and it's just like but it's hippie style, and it's like
Yeah. Mhm.
beautiful. And I don't know who the artist is, I'll be honest, but and when I see stuff like that, it's great because my town here is big on art, like the actual
Okay.
the county I live in, not the town, but the county. And that we have statues and art pieces, and we have an art competition. So like when I see stuff
Cool.
like that, it's like, oh, other places in the world are into it too. It's not just here, because it's
Yes.
culture shock for somebody as myself to see that. Like when I come out to Vegas, if I ever can make it, it's going to
Mhm.
be a culture shock. I don't gamble, but all the lights and all the people, and I got a lot of friends that are content creators too that run podcasts, some that you've probably been on. And it's like this year, everybody wants to get together as podcasts and just hang out. And I'm like, oh, I got to get there. Like that would help mainstream me. And I'm like, I gotta get there one day, and that's my goal. That was my goal with my grandfather too. Before he passed, we had the whole trip planned, and then he passed 2 years
Oh,
ago. Yeah, I found my grandfather face down blue from COVID 2 years ago, 3 days before Christmas.
shit.
And
Oh my gosh. Wow. I'm so sorry. That's really tragic.
that's why I started this show, was in his honor. And
Oh,
yeah, yeah. And long story
so
short,
sweet.
I was homeless 15 months ago. I was homeless living in my car. So
Wow.
15 months ago, I was homeless, and I lived in my car for 10 months. And my biological parents, they actually wanted the money from the estate instead of actually letting me live there, because I took care of my grandparents when they got older because they adopted me. And that's just what you do. You take care of your parents. And
Yeah.
long story short, I lost my grandmother to open heart surgery complications 6 years ago. And she bled out, and they ripped her aorta. Long story short, after
Oh,
16 hours of
shit.
surgery. And it forced me to take care of my grandfather, who had cancer, dementia, and Alzheimer's, and etc. And
Mhm.
he got COVID, and he went to the hospital, and he was in there for 14 days, and they let him out. And the day they let him out, I sat in the parking lot for 3 hours before he actually came out. Like, he kept calling me, telling me he's coming. So I don't know if they actually let him go, or if he just decided he wanted
Mhm.
to be home. And he kept telling me I had to work, and I was a truck driver. I was a semi driver, and I still do it on the side a little bit here and there.
Oh,
And
cool. That's a good job.
when I say a little bit, 6,500 miles a month, you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's a little bit.
I just did a little trip. I just did a little trip. It was 2,000 miles, and I was like, I'm a truck driver now. I
Yeah,
drive
yeah.
long hauls. Basically, I thought I was big and bad, and I'm like, that was 2,000 miles. I'm like, okay, 65,000.
Yeah, I do roughly
That's
350 miles a day. I mean, so yeah, it's fun.
wow.
Yeah, yeah, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, but
Oh,
I took
okay.
it off, and I came
Yeah.
back and worked as a mechanic to take care of him. And he wanted me to work, and he's just like, you got to make a living. You can't worry about me. And I'm like, okay. So I went to work, and the second day he was home, the night before I came home, and his nightlight was on because he was getting into being spiritual. Um,
Oh.
and that's kind of how I knew, but I didn't say nothing. And yeah, his light was on, and I thought he was reading, but then I looked in there and I couldn't see him, so I thought he was in the bathroom. It's
Mm.
his privacy, his bedroom, and I went to bed. I woke up the next morning, and the light was still on. And well, long story short, I don't want to make this too sad or sappy, but long story short, I
Mm.
found him. He stopped breathing, and he rolled off the bed and got shoved between the nightstand and the bed. And I know this is going to creep some people out there, but that nightstand right there is the actual nightstand. And um,
Holy shit. Well, it's the podcast you started because of him, so it's kind of
Yep,
like in a
yep,
way, it's like a little honor that he's right there with you. It's like he's like your like
yep,
backup, like a part
yeah,
of not
and
him, but you know what I mean. Like
yep,
him,
yep,
he's
and it was tough, but he taught me everything I knew when I was an outdoor grower, and I became an indoor grower because I
oh,
lost the farm. But my goal is to get the farmland back. Not from there because that's gone, but my own piece and start my own farm all over again because we had a big plot. It was big for my area, for me, for a home grower, and I had a 50 by 50 plot, and I would put my 24 out, excuse me, out there, and that's what I was medically legal to have, and yeah,
okay.
we grew
That's
it,
a
and
good
it was
size.
fun.
24 full-sun plants is a lot. That's good.
Yeah, 24 plants. It pulled in a good harvest for us, and we never had to complain. But definitely. So, do you grow currently, or are you just too busy and you just able to consume, or?
Yeah. Yeah, well, so I grew the last like full garden that I had, and my first plant, my first garden that I had in 2007 was up here in Mendocino. They allowed us to have 99 plants, so that was like
Wow.
my first row. So that, and they were like full sun in Mendocino. They were gorgeous. And that strawberry cough outdoors was like so stunning. It was just so colorful. And like, I haven't like smoked like mind blowing strawberry cough since then necessarily, because I don't see it that much, but it's so crazy how you can get so familiar with a plant growing outside. It becomes like a friend of yours,
Yeah.
And so I still think about those like strawberry cough plants from 2007 and like look back at them with like admiration. But my last garden that I was a part of was in 2016, and
Okay.
I was doing Emerald Cup full time, and I was doing a full grow in Santa Rosa full time. And my dad was like a part of that grow, and he was also doing his own grow in Mendocino. And so we were just like so overwhelmed. Like cannabis cultivation is its own full time job, and especially when you're in charge of like taking care of plants, we like were doing like conference calls from the garden, and we would be like planning stuff for the Emerald Cup while we're big leafing. And it was just like so much overlap and exhaustion that we were just like, I realized that year that I was like, I can't do that. I can't do both. Like I want to just commit to
Right.
one.
Yep.
And so I stopped cultivating in 2016. But last year, because I live in Willits, which is in Mendocino County. It's a tiny town. We actually only have 5,000 people that live in Willits,
Wow.
and
Hmm.
it's really beautiful here. So I was like, why don't I grow personal? I don't know. I just kind of like, because of COVID and everything else, I just sort of like got into my own little like weird funk about stuff. And I last year grew one plant, and this year I'm going to grow 6 plants. But last
Okay.
year growing my one plant even was so fun, and I really enjoyed it. And I grew it with amongst a sea of other vegetables and flowers. And it was so awesome just to be back in touch with the plant that I love so much and I consume very often, but have not cultivated very much in the last few years.
Okay. That's awesome. Definitely. Now, do you have a preferred way of smoking it? Like, are you a bong, a papers, a joint, a blunt, dabs, concentrate?
Yeah, I do. I like my first choice would be smoking joints, which I know is not
Definitely.
like necessarily the most like health conscious way, but I feel like it's the best. I have the best experience. I love smoking joints. That's my number one. But I also love cannabis beverages. I don't consume alcohol. I haven't drank alcohol in over 3 years. And so for me, like a cannabis beverage, like I love that as like on the weekend, something to enjoy. I love drinking them at events. Like it's just, especially like low dosage ones that aren't going to get you like super crazy high. Like I actually really enjoy those. So I'm kind of like have both different sides of the coin, but then I also am a super huge fan of like tinctures and solventless concentrates and topicals. Like I love it all. So it's hard to
Definitely.
necessarily just nail it down.
Definitely. I don't drink myself. My father's incarcerated. He's an alcoholic. He's been incarcerated my whole life, and that's why I haven't. But it's actually the last time I actually got intoxicated was 15 years ago, and I haven't drank a beer under the top of the label. So imagine a beer bottle, and you got the neck,
Yeah.
and then where the top of the label starts. So from basically the neck. So I haven't drank past the top of a label in over 8 years. So that's
Wow,
how much
that's a long
yeah,
time.
that's how much I drink. I can't stand the taste. And, from like 21 to 23, it was cool for me, and,
Yeah.
I grew out of it and I just didn't like how it made me feel when the next day. And I felt like I was wasting my money because you would get sick and then you
Yeah.
would, oh yeah, not me. So here I am. The flower is my friend. And,
That's cool.
we got a soil series going. We just started. I'm working on the content for that. And, we're doing 3 different kinds of soil testing indoor. One of them's a living soil, one of them's a re-amended soil from build a soil,
Uh-huh.
and the other one is pro mix. So we're trying 3 different ones, and I'm trying
Awesome.
different things and having fun with it. And then I got my auto tank going too for my quick one, and we're getting ready to do some outdoor this year at a friend's farm finally. So it's a lot of getting babies going here for me and getting stuff going. And next week, I actually, before you came on, I just got the text and confirmed 9 a.m. Wednesday, we will have Kelly, the editor in chief for Grow Magazine, on here to talk about the Grow Magazine story. Yep.
Okay,
So,
that's so awesome and such a great
yeah.
magazine. So that will be
Yeah,
really
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Well, I had a subscription to him, and I reached out because I'll be honest, and knock on wood, I thought they went out of business because I moved here and I
Mm.
changed my address a year ago, and I had a 3 year subscription, and I haven't received a magazine, but like the first month I lived here. And then so like in 11 months, I haven't received one. And I'm like, whoa, where's my magazine? And then they popped
Yeah.
up that a new one was coming out and I seen it on Instagram. And I'm like, whoa, whoa. I sent them a message real quick. I'm like, hold up. Because they're not in my Barnes and Noble no more. They used to be in my Barnes and
Okay.
Noble here. So I can't
Mhm.
find it. So I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, well, I paid for it and I'm not getting anything here. So like if you went out of business, that's cool. I mean, just tell me. I'm not mad about the money. I just want the magazine. And
Yeah.
Kelly reached out and he said, "Oh, I found your transaction." He said, "Right here." He said, "Well, I'm going to give you another 15 months for free and we're going to send you a collector's issue." Now, I reached out to him as my personal identification. Let me put it that way. Nothing to do business. And he reached back out and he said, he asked what my company was because I have another company called Sticky Mitts Brands, and it's a printing and publication company. And he was like, "What is that? Do you want to advertise in the magazine?" And I'm like, "No, but I'm Jay Blaze with Organically Blunt Podcast, and I'd love to have you on and hear the story." And then we made it official, and I gave him the official email for the
Mhm.
show, and here we are. And he sent me a collector's edition. I actually just got it on the coffee table in my living room, and I'm like, "Yeah, this is cool. Something to look at tonight." So, yeah, I'm excited. But as
That's
far
really
as the
cool.
Emerald, yeah,
Yeah, I was just gonna
go
say
ahead.
you're inspiring me because I feel like the kind of what I was saying at the very beginning of the show. Sometimes you just say yes to things and you don't know like what that next thing's gonna open for you. And it's crazy how when you
Right.
say yes to something that it opens up another door and then that opens up another door. And then you get to meet people
Yes.
like us meeting right now. And then next week
Yep.
you having that conversation. And it's really cool to see people that really go after life and like are open to new experiences.
Yeah, the biggest thing with this show and the biggest thing is I wanted to re-educate. My grandfather was big on re-education. My grandma
Yeah.
was a Head Start preschool teacher her whole life. So I was surrounded by education. So my grandparents, not to talk much about me because this is about you, but my grandmother helped my uncle run a bakery in Delhi. So we always were baking and doing deli foods and concessions and catering and the restaurant for over 30 years. And the other half was she was a school teacher. So it was like always being educated on anything we got involved in. It was about learning it and being educated and teaching other people. So when I bring you guys on here, it's to educate people about your story. And I know I talk a lot about myself, and I do apologize for that. But it's
No,
just
no,
typically
it
how the
makes a more fruitful
conversation goes.
conversation. It's
Yeah,
good.
definitely. So what besides the cup itself and it being open to so many different subjects of the plant, what
Mhm.
else goes on at these events? Do you have live entertainment? I mean, do you have glass blowers? What's going on? Like, what can I expect when I walk through the gate, I guess you'd say?
So, currently, so we used to do the event and the award show combined, those two things happening in the same weekend. And so we would sort of historically have like Saturday as like the party day, and then and like socialize and listen to music and go listen to speaker panels and shop and that kind of stuff. And then on Sunday we would have it as the award show day. But COVID sort of sparked this separation of the two events to kind of take place separately. So we had in 2021, we had a virtual award show. But then after that, we had Harvest Ball, which is what we've sort of evolved into from Emerald Cup into a Harvest Ball and then an award show in the springtime. So that we can kind of have the best of both worlds with the event still taking place in Northern California in the harvest time of December. And then the award show taking place at a later date, which actually gives us more time to run the competition more efficiently. Because back in the day, this is a tangent, but it's important to the longer answer. So back in the day, we used to do the competition all very quickly. So it would be like you would enter November 1st, and we would have by December, 1st, like have to have everything judged. So it would just be like 1 month to like run everything, get all the entries to the judges, have them all try everything. And then pick the winners. And like in those days, especially, we would have 1,200 entries that we would be having to
Wow.
like process and go through, and have the judges try to smoke like 400 entries in 2 weeks. And it was just crazy days. And
Yep,
it was
yep.
still so fun and so awesome. And the most dedicated judges on the planet, I swear, people would be like, okay, great, I'm just gonna call off work for 2 weeks and do this. And we've had the best judges over the years, and that's really what's given us the opportunity to still have our competition. And so what happened though is that with us separating the having more time to run the competition and having that additional space, now we have the award show take place in the springtime. So if you were to come to a Harvest Ball, what you would be experiencing, which is our show that happens in Sonoma County at the fairgrounds in December, you'd be able to access hundreds of vendors. We have speaker panels, we have music. There is such a core community that shows up from not only just Northern California, but around the world. And it's very consumer based. So it's just such a special, one of a kind audience that every time that I'm a part of an Emerald Cup event, I truly feel like the community that shows up is like the best part of the event. So beyond cannabis, the networking abilities of just being able to meet so many cool people at one time is really awesome. But we do also focus on education and have always had speaker panels. Well, the first year we had speaker panels was 2011, so it was like a long time ago. But since then, we've had speaker panels at every single event, and education is a huge part of our community also.
Definitely, definitely. Now, that's gonna ask one of my questions. It's gonna roll right into it. So here we go. You know,
Okay.
you guys have probably met a lot of celebrities, and this is going to be a two-part question. Okay, so the first part is who have you met that has come to the Emerald Cup that is considered like a celebrity in the industry, or just a celebrity in general that you've met
Yeah.
that was like one of the most humble people you've met, like your favorite? That's the first part of the question. The second part of the question is, I'll let you answer that one, but the second part is,
Okay.
who could you smoke with if you could smoke with anybody dead or alive? Who would you want to and why? But I want the first person that comes in your head. I want the organic answer.
Okay. But okay, so wait, so let's see. Let's start with the first answer. The first question was celebrities that are really
Yep.
nice. And I will say Jay and Silent Bob came
Yep.
to Emerald Cup. That was my first thought because they came to Emerald Cup in like 2019. And I like was a big fan of Clerks. I was a big fan of Mallrats. So it was just like for me, like them coming there, I was just like, okay, this is so insane. And I'm not like a huge like, oh my gosh, I need to meet a celebrity if they're there kind of person. Like I'm
Right.
always just like,
Yep.
okay, cool. Like, I don't want to bug them or whatever.
Yep.
But they were like, oh, one of them was kind of looking to maybe like see what kind of cannabis we had, and the other one does not consume cannabis. And so I was like, okay, well, this is my chance. And so my cousin Chad and I were like, let's go and try to meet them. And we were in this trailer with them, and we're just having the best conversation. And they were so kind, both of them, so down to earth, so like just organically funny and charming, and were everything that you would think that they would be off camera. They were exactly that on in person, and it was a really like enjoyable experience, and it will be always one of my favorite memories, because even my cousin Chad and I, we had this like staring contest with them, and it was just for like photos, and it was so cool. I still get like excited thinking about it. But I think if I had to pick a celebrity, dead or alive, to smoke with organically, it's so funny because my first answer genuinely is Willie Nelson, because
Right. Yep.
when Willie came, because he also came to the Emerald Cup before,
Oh
and
man.
he was a recipient of the Willie Nelson Award. It was at one time called the Lifetime Achievement Award. And then in
Okay.
2019, could have been that same year that Jay and Silent Bob were there. 2019, he came. No, it was 2018. He came to they all blend together sometimes. I need
Right.
to
Yep.
write down this on like a post-it note. But 2018, he came and he received the award, and so from there on, we forever changed it to the Willie Nelson Award. And so we have this like very long list of legends in the industry that we've given the Lifetime Achievement Award to, but we've then switched it over to the Willie Nelson Award. But when he was there for a short period of time. And so because we were doing the award show, and it was kind of a crazy preparation to just get everything ready for the award show, I didn't meet him before the award show. So the first time that I actually saw him was on stage, and I was like so like celebrity struck. Like I was just like almost in shock, like that he was really there.
Yep.
And I was so nervous. I don't think I said one word to him, because he was on stage and he was accepting an award, but I just was like, like so
Right.
excited.
Yep.
But I was
Definitely.
kind of had this fantasy in my mind that we were all gonna like smoke together, like off stage, and it was all gonna happen. But then it was just the like busyness of, after a
Yeah.
show, and he went on the tour bus, and I didn't actually get to smoke with him. But that is always going to be someone that I would absolutely love to smoke a joint with.
Definitely. Yeah, me too. My grandfather loved him. My grandfather was a country western
So
guy.
cool.
So like Clint Eastwood, Willie Nelson, all them old school guys, Johnny
Yeah.
Cash. Yeah. And it's great. But it's good that you like Jay and Silent Bob, because I'm gonna let you in on another podcast that you might enjoy
Okay.
listening to. And it's local, because my cousin is actually the host, and my cousin does all the panelists and the hosting for all the Jay and Silent Bob events and like the Comic Cons and stuff. And it's called
Awesome.
the Geekly Gab. The
Okay,
Geekly
I'm gonna write
Gab.
down. I'm gonna write
And
down.
we had him on here a couple weeks ago. My cousin, you can find him on here. And it looks like a Power Rangers
Okay.
thumbnail, because we redesigned it, because he's a nerd. He's got a nerd cave. We grew up that way, but he gets to hang out with Jay and all them, and do this private tours and go to their private locations and all that stuff, like, and sit down and be a panelist and like interview people at the Comic Cons and all the Jay and
cool.
Silent Bob events. So it might be something you might enjoy, listening to. It's really cool,
I would love to.
Yeah.
I'm a big podcast fan too. Sorry, I was just gonna say I love listening to podcasts, so it's a great recommendation.
Yeah, that's me too. And I met a lot of podcasts, along the way, and I ask a lot of questions because I'm the new kid on the block. So a lot of these guys, if you ask them, they'll be like, "Man, Jay, he is not afraid to ask any question. Like, he'll ask anything because he wants to know." Yeah, because my ultimate dream is to wake up and do this daily. I would like to have a daily show and actually make a living doing it. But it's not the money, it's the passion for me. It's so definitely. But I want to know is I guess you'd say is as far as how it is out there, does everybody really barter plants and everything? I mean, is a plant considered like, I hate to put it this way, but like a monetary token out there, a bartership? I mean, because I've seen like this Instagram channel, and I ask everybody that lives out there just to find out if it's true. It was your guys' it was in Humboldt though, but
Okay.
it was this mail lady driving along to go deliver the mail, and the road's a dirt road and it's terrible. It's like pothole city. And all of a sudden the mail lady drives, and all of a sudden the camera zooms left, and they got a 4 or 5 foot plant in a pothole in the road. And I'm like, hold up. I'm like, man, if I was driving along and I see that, I would have to, I would do the same thing. I'd have to get out and take a picture. I wouldn't believe it. But I talked to the Mendo Dope boys, and they're like, oh yeah, man, it's really like that out here. And I just like to hear it from other people, like what it's like to actually live around it.
Yeah, well, and it's changed so much in like the last like 5 or 6 years, even because I feel like I mean, everybody used to grow weed. Everybody used to grow weed. We used to like grow it or sell it or trim or do
Yep.
hustling on the side or make hash
Yeah.
or like I mean, everybody did it. It was just like a part of like the life up here, you know? And
Yep.
then when
Yep.
Prop 64 passed and it became like more into the regulated space, and if you wanted to have a part of, life in the regulated market, it made so many people get out of the black market, right? Because it wasn't even worth the risk anymore. And so it's so nuts because like it turned all these people that were like about cultivating and like being in like the like lifestyle, it like almost like kind of pushed us even farther from the plant, kind of in this way. It's not everybody, but just some people that like just took the different lifestyles, right? Because if you were a cultivator and you stayed in cultivation, then that was your path and you didn't get farther away from the plant. But there were a lot of people that went into like distros or retail or testing facilities and things like that. And so it's kind of like what used to be like more common is kind of become like a little bit more rare nowadays, but
Okay.
it's still so prevalent that you see
Yep.
it everywhere. That there's so many people that still grow. And what's so beautiful about it is that when you're driving, you still see like just hoops, of
I
plants
couldn't
and like people
imagine. I couldn't imagine.
that
Man.
part. And so it's like so funny because so you haven't seen like a full outdoor like in either Mendocino or Humboldt, right? Because you haven't been out here. So that part for you would be so fun. You should definitely take it
Yep.
up with the Mendo Dope Boys. They have an awesome garden. They would, I'm sure, would
Yeah.
totally be down to like show you, or me from Huckleberry Hill, him and Rose. They have
Yep.
a beautiful garden. Like there's so many people that really hone in on their craft up here, and they're so amazingly talented at what they do that they're like just being around the plants in the way that they cultivate them is an awesome experience. And so I would definitely recommend, if you do get a chance, I would totally do that. But yeah, I feel like cannabis plants, it's so crazy because the things that you see, I mean, the things that have happened up here, yeah, it's like you do realize that it's maybe a little bit more openly acceptable than other places in the country.
Okay. Yeah. Red Eye wants to know. He wants to know if I did and if you did. Woke up with a buzz fog today because of the 420 smoke-a-thon. If we partaked yesterday.
Yes, I did. I actually went to two different dispensaries in Northern California, and I was at one in Santa Rosa for 420. So I got to like smoke a like joint with like a big group of people, and it was really fun. And then I got home and I took a bunch of dabs and I smoked a joint. And then I actually on the way home got In and Out, which is
Okay.
like
Yeah.
the
I've
best
heard
from
of it.
California. Yes, so it was a very California stoner holiday for
Okay.
me. What did you do?
Yeah. Well, we aren't as far along as you guys are, but one of our micro grows here. I support 2 micro grow dispensaries in my county. That's the only 2 dispensaries I actually support because they're actual growers that grow and touch the product from seed to harvest. And I support that because they're behind the plant. They're not actually just a corporatized. I hate to put it that way. I'm a grower, so I got to support the growers. And I went down there and I visited their opening house because I debuted their opening when they became a business here. And I actually ran the story before the local news did. The local news seen it on my channel, and then they decided to run it. Well, long story short, they've been friends of mine, and the owner is actually a doctor. So it's a
Wow.
very clean procedure and facility and all that. And next door to it was in a vacant lot because our town is slowly being rebuilt, a lot of vacancy throughout the years, and a lot of rundown buildings that are being redone and for the cannabis industry. Well, they redid an old steel mill building factory and kept the agriculture of it and the look of the building a lot, even though it's been redone. And next door, that open plot, a private donor purchased it. And because we have CRA regulations here, the dispensary can't own a consumption without a consumption license. So what they did is they partnered. This guy donated the land to the city, and the city agreed to put what they call like a public license. I don't know licensing. I'll be honest, but basically we got our first outdoor consumption zone. It's called the Bowl.
Awesome.
And yeah,
Cool.
and I went and debuted it, and I get there and I'm talking, and I was there for 3 hours and didn't even know it. I was just talking to people. People actually thought I worked there because I was so educated. And I'm like, no, I don't work here. I'm just, when people are asking about upcoming events in different areas, and I became like a spokesperson, I guess you'd say there. But yeah, I debuted it, and the next thing you know, here comes the news. They walk in right after I was there for about 3 hours, and I'm like, really? I'm like, man, do you guys like follow me around or what? Like,
Yes.
like seriously, yeah, like, and yeah, it was great. I mean, it wasn't as big as I was, and right now it looks like, I hate to put it this way, it looks like a big bowl that is surrounded by straw because they just built the berms because they have to have like 6-foot berms all the way around, 6 or 7, it might be 8 foot. I don't know how tall they are, but the public can't see into it while we're consuming. That is the biggest law here.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of hidden behind the dispensary building off to the side in a private lot. You got to walk down a path and you walk into it, and then it opens up and it has giant Jenga, it has cornhole, it has picnic tables. They're going to have a fire pit. They're going on my idea, which, because I come from entertainment, I was a photographer and a promoter for many years for a radio station that I actually worked for iHeartRadio, which before it became iHeartRadio, it was called Clear Channel Broadcasting. And I used to be a nightclub photographer here. And long story short, I just helped promote it and everything. And they're gonna go with it. And I got the name out to a bunch of people. So once it grows in, they're going to put a stage in there, and local artisans such as poets and people that do art, or comedians, or somebody that wants to do acoustic playing of the guitar, or anything really. If you have a talent and you want to get up on a stage like a talent show, you can go there and you can perform to the crowd while they're partaking and hanging out. And it don't cost you nothing to perform. It's like kind of like karaoke. You just get up there and do your thing. So they like that idea, and now they're looking at putting a stage in there, like an outdoor stage out there and stuff. So it's gonna be good for the community. It did get some flack from a couple of the neighbors because the neighbors are older generation people. I'll give them that, and they're like, you didn't even ask if we wanted that down there. Now we got to look out the second story of the apartment and we can see people enjoying themselves and smoking it. And it's like, listen, what is the difference between this and going across the street to the bar? And we have a downtown district, and the downtown district has a consumption zone, but the consumption zone is for alcohol. So you can walk I think it's about a 3-mile stretch of bars and stuff in a downtown district. And as long as you're in there, you can walk in the stores with your drink, you can shop, you can walk out, but you cannot leave that area. And it's kind of cool. Well, they just told me that the township came over there and they decided that they might start considering cannabis in the consumption area, which would be cool. Not in the shops, but like on the streets down there. And you can go down there and you can walk around and look at the shops. And if you want to light up a doobie, you can light up a doobie and walk around as long as you're in that zone. But that zone will be limited to certain ages, obviously. So it's coming. We have an indoor consumption lounge built, and it was supposed to open on a week ago, and it didn't open because they got their license pulled for some reason. I don't know if they didn't make standard. I don't know nothing about it, but they said that it'll be coming, but it didn't get fully approved, I guess. I don't know. So that's what we did for 420.
Awesome. No, that's getting together with community and celebrating 420 is truly such a like joyous experience because it just brings
Yeah,
you like really like the like simplicity of the holiday, you know? You're not like it's
it
not like,
does. Yeah,
you know, like Thanksgiving or some big family thing where sometimes you have to get everybody together and whatever. It's just like getting together to smoke weed and just enjoy that, and it's just that alone is a really beautiful reason to celebrate. But
definitely,
as you were
definitely.
just talking, it made me realize that I'm like, oh yeah, I've lived in California for so long. That part, sometimes even just smoking weed
Yep.
places, I forget, like it's so common and so widely accepted here that like I smoke weed like
Me
most
too.
like outside, you know what I mean? Like you're not like as like
Yep.
concerned about it. But I was in DC last year and I remember like even just thinking about that as I was like walking around downtown DC that I was like, wait a minute, should I just be smoking weed here? Because you do get like kind of like California like
Yep.
glazed over. You're like, oh, this is fine, right? You know,
Yep.
even though that there are very much laws around where you can and cannot consume cannabis in California. It's just I just don't think, you know,
I
everybody always
it's
listens.
kind of like that here in Michigan. It's like a smaller version of California, but like you don't really people don't really bother you. You get out and you consume it like I hate to put it this way, but like it's a cigarette. I do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm out walking around, socializing, talking to people, and yeah, just like Red Eye said, smoke it like cigarettes are legal. And just be considerate would be nice. Exactly.
Exactly.
That's what
Considerate
I
of
do.
others.
And I went to Memphis last year for New Year's, and I went down to
Okay.
Beale Street and I walked around and enjoyed the New Year's Eve party. And me and my brother and my other buddy, and I pull my box out. I tell this story all the time, and I pull my box out and I put it on the dash down there because we're about to go out for some real Memphis barbecue. I'm talking like a smoke shack in the slum
Gorgeous.
area. Like,
Oh, those are the best.
yes, it
Just
was
like
the
a little
best.
snack.
So
Mhm.
I roll up, I light one, I got everything on the dash, just like I would if we were out here at the park.
Yeah.
I wasn't driving, but yeah, I got it on the dash, and they quick grab it and shove it off the dash. They're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm rolling a joint." And they're like, "You can't do that here." And I'm like, "Oh." And then I'm walking down Beale Street smoking, and they're like, "You do realize you're not in Michigan anymore?" And I'm like, "Nobody said anything." So like, okay. Yes, but I see where you're coming from. It's kind of like that with me too. So,
How was the barbecue?
oh, it was probably the best I've ever had. You
Oh,
know,
of course it was. Of course
yeah,
it was. Oh,
like it was
food
totally a
is so
spur of the moment trip. Like Michigan New Year's, it wasn't bad last year. We didn't have a lot of snow, but we had, I don't know, I don't say it's a lot to you guys. It's a half a foot versus a foot. And it was cold, real cold, probably like 20s. And I looked at my brother and I said, "Man, I need some sun. It's been cloudy, it's been gloomy. I'm cranky. It's New Year's. We have no plans." This was actually what I call New Year's Eve. So it was and they were like, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want some Memphis barbecue." And they said, "So we'll go to the store." I said, "No." And they said, "Well, let's go to a barbecue place." I said, "They're all closed. Nothing's good in this area." I said, "Let's go to Memphis." And they said, "You're kidding, right?" I said, "No, let's go right now." So we all quick packed our bags, jumped in the car, and we just left. And I get down there, and we're walking around on in shorts and a t-shirt. And I'm not used to that
wow.
because here we'd be in snowsuits. So like we're like sending our family videos and rubbing it in and just having a good time. Like we're like, haha, we're in 70s. And they're like, "You guys are so lucky." And we just had fun with it, you know. It was one of them things that was a spur of the moment, and we just went with it. Like we didn't have any plan. Like we didn't even have a plan for the barbecue. Like I just went through the list on Google and I found one that looked like an actual shack, like you would see in the South, and I was like, I got to go check this out. And we went, and it was great, you know. And we met a lot of people down there, and we were talking handing business cards out to people down there. But cannabis down there is a lot stricter in the Bible Belt. My brother lives in South Carolina, and I don't know if they'll ever get it legal down there, because today Delaware just went, as of midnight tonight, so an hour from now, Delaware will be the 22nd state to go legal in the recreational market.
So crazy. And yeah, I do feel like it is so different. And even just overcoming the stigma for people, like unlearning that drug war, like propaganda that everyone sort of like, I think unless you're really fully exposed to the medicinal benefits, I think that people, still have like the stigma around like weed smoking or consumption of cannabis. And there's so many benefits to it, and especially to from a wide variety of things, but also just really excited to see as states become more legal and up to speed in terms of educational parts of things. I feel like there's going to be a lot of lives that are going to be changed for the better because of cannabis, and so that part to me, it's just really exciting every single time that a state does become legal.
Definitely. Well, we're getting to approach the hour mark here in about 4.5 minutes here. So with that being said, is there anything you want the audience out there to know about you or the event, and where can they find you at?
Okay, so the award show is going to take place. The Emerald Cup Awards is taking place May 13th in Richmond, California. It's a private event, so unfortunately, we are not selling tickets to this event. It is private just for our contestants, judges, past VIPs. This year's award show, we since it is private, we are looking very much forward to our next event, which we will be able to talk about very soon. But at least for the time being, the Emerald Cup Awards is what I would just stay tuned on to. And we had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of entries this year. So I'm so excited. We're currently underway with our judging. So all of our teams are picking their winners, and it's a very exciting time for us. So stay tuned to see who wins. And all that information will be announced on our website and socials. The Emerald Cup, it's on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. My personal pages are also, I have Taylor Blake. It's on Instagram and Facebook. And
okay.
I do not have a Twitter.
But I was looking for you on Instagram, and I typed your name in, and all of a sudden like a whole list of people popped up, and I'm like, whoa. And I'll be honest, I didn't have a picture of you, so I didn't know what you looked like. So I'm like, I don't know which one's them, so I'm just gonna tag the cup because I don't know.
Yes. And it's funny because I love that sometimes about like, meeting people and then having like a conversation. This was really fun because you didn't send me any questions in advance. So it was truly a organic conversation. So I do love that your title is Organically Blunt, and now I'm like, it's very
cool. We're raw, uncut, non-edited. We don't edit nothing. We don't cut anything out. So if we make a mistake, it's on there, and that's just how it goes. And that people enjoy that. And I'm very blunt on everything, especially like when it comes to products and I'm reviewing things. If there's something I don't like or something needs to be improved, I let them know. And that's what they like. I mean, one of my most viewed videos was on a product that we got sent, some cones, and I have alopecia areata, which is an autoimmune disease where your hair follicles fall out. It's an autoimmune disease. And I can taste things that people normally can't. It like intensified my taste buds, as weird as it sounds. And it was a dyed paper. I usually smoke unbleached, undyed paper. Well, I didn't think nothing of it, and because I'm looking at them right now, I still got them on the shelf, and I could taste the bleach as soon as I lit it. And I put that in the video. I said, it tastes like I took a cap full of bleach and dumped it in my mouth. And I said, I don't endorse this product. And, I got flack for it. But a lot of people, after they heard the truth about it, they were like, I see why. And a couple of people tried it, and they're like, yeah, you're right. And, and that's how I am. So, but, with that being said, are you guys there's one more question I got to ask before I let you go. Okay. The awards or anything, is there any chance you guys are going to live stream that?
So it's funny you ask because it is something that very much my dad is trying to work on doing, and
Definitely.
so there will be some component of that hopefully. And if that does take place, it will probably, because just for accessibility, we're going to try to do it on like Instagram or YouTube or
Yeah, right.
something like that.
Yeah,
But if not, then the winners will also just be announced at the moment that they happen, and then there'll be all kinds of beautiful photos and videos that will be shown afterwards
definitely,
too. So
definitely.
either way,
Yeah,
please follow up with me if you come out to California. You have my email. Hit me up,
yeah, yeah.
and I fully encourage you to take that trip. And I look forward to meeting you
Oh,
in
I've
person.
been planning it for years, but every time I go to make the trip, I hate to say it, something happens. Last year
Oh,
I got T-boned, and then I had to get the car fixed, and then I got the car fixed, and then the transmission went out, and then I went to get that fixed, and a week later the motor went out. So I replaced the whole motor and the whole front end of my car. And then during the mix, I didn't have any transportation because I couldn't rely on my family. I hate to put it that
mm,
way.
yeah.
So I bought a second vehicle just so I had transportation, and that wiped out my savings for the trip. Well, then I
Yeah,
saved up this year, and this year I got to put a roof on my house, but I'm still
totally.
trying, trying to make it, And there's so many good people I want to connect with, and I want to go to MJ Biz, and then, like I said, I want to make my trip over there because, if I go to MJ Biz, my buddy lives an hour and a half from Vegas. He lives in LA, but he said it's an hour and a half. I don't know if it is. I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't.
it's really
But
close. It's surprisingly close. When you go there, you're like, oh shit, okay, it's right there.
yeah, and he's
Yeah,
like, dude, he's like, just stay with me. Don't get a hotel. And I'm like, I can do that. I mean, I drive 350 miles a day. What's an hour and a half drive when I'm in the
yeah,
car like 12 hours a day
yeah.
anyway? And he's like, yeah. And so that's my plan, is to do that, visit him for a while, and then make my way up northern, hit a couple places along the way, and then make my way back across and down. And so I'll go to Southern California, and then I'll come up to Northern, and then I'll
Yep,
ride that way back to Michigan. And
yep.
that's my plan, is to see as many states as I can possibly see. I got a list of states that my grandfather and me picked out of different things
Um,
we wanted to see when he was alive, because we had this trip planned, such as Washington cherry blossoms and Vegas lights, and we really wanted to go to New Mexico on the way,
oh my
because
gosh, New Mexico is beautiful. The
that's what we
sunsets and
hear.
just
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yep. So
yeah. I think that that sounds like it's going to be a beautiful trip that you'll take whenever the time is right. So
yep, yep. So
just
yeah,
always
I
like
appreciate you
take it
having
one step
on
at a
there.
time.
Definitely, we appreciate you taking time out of your evening, and we appreciate you coming on the show, just like everybody said. And what Red Eye said before I let you go one more time, he said your dad's going to be on actually the first podcast that I was on, called "Fucking Talking Shit with Eagle." And
Oh, okay.
yeah, I
I
mean,
do not doubt that he would be. He is
yep,
also a
yep,
frequent speaker, and he's really interesting. He's like a very fascinating person, and so I feel like it's just really cool, like to see him
yeah.
speak many times.
Eagle was I know I'm blabbing here, but Eagle was actually the first guy to help run and help streamline Subcool. I don't know if you know who
Oh,
Subcool is.
yeah. Oh
Yes.
my gosh, I definitely know who Seb Cool is. Yes, I
So Eagle
legend in
helps.
gaming
Yeah,
world.
Eagle helped start Weed Nerd Nation with the Mendo
Okay.
Boys and stuff like that back in the day, and he helped it to where it's at. I'm not saying he's a creator, but he helped, and he had a part in it. And I met him at Big Cloud Farms, and I didn't
Cool.
know where I was going, and I asked for directions, and he did. And then like 2 weeks later, he seen me on here, and he's like, "Hey, you want to come on my show?" And I'm like, "What? That's you? Oh, okay, yeah." And then he told me how he was friends with Subcool, and it's crazy how the industry is smaller than what we really think it is. It really is.
It's 3 degrees of
Yeah.
separation between everybody. But
Yep.
I'm really happy to hear that he's going on that podcast, and I'll have to check in with him and see when it's
Yeah.
happening, and I'll
Yeah.
listen in.
He said on here. I'd have to go back and chat. I think he said it was next week or something. So
Oh,
you
cool.
have to check it out. But yeah, with that being said, we appreciate you coming on the Organically Blunt show, and you enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
You too.
You've been listening to the Organically Blunt Show, a cannabis lifestyle podcast that's raw, uncut, and unedited. Thanks for listening to the show. We would like to give thanks to this episode's partners: Grow Strong Industries, the mother brand of Gorilla Grow Tint, Kind LED, and Lotus Nutrients. Use coupon code Organically Blunt. Seedsman Seeds, a trusted seed bank with over 20 years in the industry. Use coupon code Organically Blunt 10. Horticulture Lighting Group, HLG, real efficiency, real yields, and made in the USA. Use coupon code Organically Blunt. Rain Science Grow Bags, one-of-a-kind mesh grow bags that eliminate problems and increase yields. Use coupon code Organically Blunt. Growth Bags, the best curing solution to save terps. Use coupon code Organically Blunt. Captain Redbeard Seeds, genetics that are loyal to the soil. Use coupon code Organically Blunt. Humboldt Seed Company, Humboldt's original seed. Use coupon code Organically Blunt. Fish Head Farms, the maker of fish shit, the most robust beneficial bacteria on the market. Use coupon code Organically Blunt. Sofim Genetics, quality genetics at a fair price. Use coupon code Organically Blunt. Green Wolf Genetics. These genetics come from a wolf pack that runs with quality and no BS. Use coupon code Organically Blunt. Utopic Essential Nutrients. Discover the truth. Use coupon code Organically Blunt. Stream Gardening, world-leading mycorrhizal fungi. Dry Tents, because we all need a place to dry that harvest. Use coupon code Organically Blunt. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And in the meantime, follow us on Instagram at Organically Blunt or on Social Club at Organically Blunt. You can reach us also via email at organicallyblunt@gmail.com. Organically Blunt can be found where you listen to podcasts such as iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, Anchor.fm, and Apple Podcasts. See you next time on the Organically Blunt Show.